The Chicago Bears have won 4 in a row, and it's because they can now run the football. That's why they're going to continue to win games. So they lose to Minnesota and Detroit to open the season, and then they play the Cowboys, and Caleb Williams has the best game of his career. You could argue 4 touchdowns, no turnovers, threw for 298 yards, if I can remember correctly, against Matt Eberflus's defense. And everyone's like, here we go, Bears. Are they good, though? Because that Dallas Cowboys defense is not. And then they squeak out a win against the Raiders. Caleb Williams, another solid game, but not really a great one. When you look at the numbers, it's like, how did the Bears win that game? And then you've watched the Raiders play since, and you're like, it's because the Raiders are terrible. That's how they were able to win that game. And then in these last 2, the offense has turned a corner. DeAndre Swift ran for 108 yards on 14 carries against the Commanders 2 weeks ago on Monday Night Football. That's 7.7 yards per carry. And then on Sunday against the Saints, who I know aren't great, he ran for 124 yards on 19 carries. That is 6.5 yards a carry. Oh, and let's not forget the tutty that he had. They can run the football now. And unless you're the Chiefs or the Bills or the Ravens or the Bengals or the Rams, unless you have one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the world on your team, you have to be able to run the football. You know why the 49ers are good every year under Kyle Shanahan? Because he runs the football better than any other head coach in the NFL. Like, that is his gift. He has this innate ability to figure out ways to run the football, and obviously it's easier when you have a running back like Christian McCaffrey. But even before McCaffrey got there, they were cutting teams up with their ability to run the football, that little zone running scheme. And that was the thing with Ben Johnson that always got overshadowed, because when you run trick plays and you throw the football to Dan Skipper and Penei Sewell and you got Jared Goff throwing to Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta and Jamison Williams, you forget that Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery were the workhorses of that offense, and they were really the straw that stirred the drink. And when you look at the best teams in the NFL, not saying that the Bears are one of the best teams in the NFL, let me make that very clear. A lot of the best teams in the NFL this year, think the Colts. What do the Colts do really well? They run the football, and Daniel Jones doesn't turn the football over. The Bills these last couple of years, in addition to having Josh Allen, James Cook has ran the ball really well, and Josh Allen has cut down on the turnovers. When you look at the Jags, who I think are a tad bit overrated, but they run the football really well. J.K. Dobbins, when the Broncos give it to him, is having a pretty solid year. Last year with the Eagles, Saquon Barkley has this outstanding year. Part of why the Dallas Cowboys offense has been so prolific is because they've been able to run the football. The Packers are better when Josh Jacobs has it rolling. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are better when Bucky Irving's healthy, because then it makes it easier for them to run the football. The Panthers aren't just like an automatic W anymore. You know what the difference is? They went out and they got Rico Dowdle, and all of a sudden he's running the football for all sorts of yards. He's got like 200 all-purpose yards. It makes it easier when you can run the football. And when you have a team that can run the football and you pair it with a quarterback like Caleb Williams, who just doesn't turn the football over, that to me was the very hopeful part of his rookie year. He was under pressure a lot. He took way too many sacks. Should have thrown the ball away more often than what he did. With that being said, despite facing all that pressure, he only threw 6 interceptions during the season last year. That's a really impressive number for a rookie standing behind an offensive line that terrible. And when you look at his numbers this year, it's more of the same. He's thrown 3 interceptions through 6 games. That's a really good number for him to be at. 9 touchdowns, 3 picks. That's a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. That's where he was at last year as well. So if they can keep running the football, then they're going to continue to win games, especially if this defense continues to play well again. Like they're not playing juggernauts here. You know, the Saints, I like Spencer Rattler, not like a ton, but I think I like him more than most. But holding them to 14 points isn't a big deal. Holding the Commanders to 24, though, when Jaden Daniels played, that is a big deal. Holding that Cowboys offense to 14 points, that's a pretty impressive thing as well. So if they can continue to get stops and if they can continue to run the football, because running the football takes the pressure off of Caleb Williams to make plays, and your defense they get to be on the field less. And while this Bears defense does appear to be improving a little bit under Dennis Allen, the Bears defensive coordinator, it still has their issues. Like not having Johnson, one of the 5 best cornerbacks in the NFL, having him out for the year makes it a little bit tougher than what I think Dennis Allen originally planned for. But the defense is getting better. They figured out a way to run the football. That's why you go and invest in those 3 interior offensive linemen in the offseason so that Ben Johnson can come in, run the football, make life a little bit easier on Caleb Williams, and so you can win games 4 in a row. That's very hard to do in the NFL.